Welcome back to the Athlete Hackers podcast. My name is Chris Schrade.
And my name is Mark Spellman. And because I just did this off air, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah! Yeah, he's ready.
Welcome to the Athlete Hackers. Before we get started with our guest, our last episode, we had Jesse Wright on, multi-year strength coach in the NBA, also worked in the NFL and collegiate setting, also is a bestseller author. Intent to Grow is his book. Balance the Bar is his website. Main things I got from Jesse, and I always learn when I talk with Jesse, is the importance of the soft skills in our profession, the ability to have conversations that might be difficult, but will help you grow personally and professionally, and the goal to get better every day, that you're working with somebody, for somebody, or working on yourself.
Yeah, I guess his book, obviously I haven't read it yet, but goes into what a strength coach or a coach in general has to do, the little things to help them succeed. And it's got interesting parallels with just athletes in general, doing the little things, showing up on time, working hard, all that little stuff that makes a huge difference, that's accessible to everybody. And we had some interesting talks to him to give us a bit of the insight into the NBA, what goes on there. Some interesting conversation about their water intake and the research they've done there. So if you want the actual info, go check out the podcast.
With that being said, our next guest, one of the individuals that I consider one of the best in the business, has been a friend of mine for the last 2 decades. Came into my life at a time and a situation that we'll dive deeper into, where I think a lot of strength coaches, especially today, would have a hard time dealing with. But I had a great time when I first met Liane, and I've had the pleasure of knowing Liane for the past 20 years. It is my honor, my pleasure to introduce the director of Olympic sports and strength and conditioning at the Arizona State University. I don't know if it's the Arizona State University, and I'm sure the people in Columbus will get pissed off at me, but suck it, Columbus. You don't own the word the, so bite me unless you want to hire me. So it's my honor, it's my pleasure to introduce Liane Bly. Liane, how are you out in Tempe?
I am great, thank you. And it is just Arizona State University, not the.
Thanks for coming out today, Coach.
No, thanks for having me. I know we've been trying to connect for a while, and things have been a little crazy back and forth. So I'm glad we finally got to connect.
Yeah.
For those individuals that don't know your background, Liane, you can go deep into it, how you got into where you're at, how you got into the profession, how you got to where you're at, anything, anywhere you want to go and tell people. And then we can get into how we met.
All right, sounds good. God, I'm old, so there's a long history of this.
You're in the same company. We're all old too.
All right. So I'll give you the Reader's Digest kind of version. I grew up in a small town in Southwick, Massachusetts. I played sports all my life, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. It was kind of one of those things. I just worked my butt off, and I always liked sports. So I went to Endicott College for sports medicine, athletic training, and I played field hockey and softball there. And then I transferred to Miami, Ohio for my undergrad in athletic training. And I met Dan Dalrymple, who's at the Saints. So Dan and I go way back. And
he looks great.
He looks unbelievable. He looks absolutely
fabulous.
Yep.
Shout out to you, Coach D.
And he was kind of my first into strength conditioning. He was a strength coach at Miami, Ohio, and I always liked the gym. I always liked going to the gym. I did it to stay healthy for, playing sports. I did it. I was a little obsessive back then. I still am obsessive, compulsive. I guess it goes with territory. So, I met him, and I'm like, I like sports medicine. I like athletic training, but I want more. And, I was able to spend a little bit of time with him, learning about the weight room. And I knew, basic stuff from Muscle and Fitness magazine. So, just kind of doing bodybuilding 101, but I wanted to dive deeper. So I got to spend some time with Dan and hang out with Dan. And, I still finished my degree in sports medicine, still took my certification. Miami, Ohio was J. Crew U, wasn't really my type of school because I go to school in sweats, not Sperry's and polos. But they had a great sports med program. So I'm thankful for that. But I decided that I needed to take a year off between my undergrad and grad because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I honestly think for people just to jump right into next level of school when you don't know what you truly want to do, I think it's dumb and a waste of money. So I moved to North Carolina. My best friend growing up lived in Nashville, North Carolina. And I said, hey, I'm coming to live with you. And I worked at a bar. I worked at a health club. I volunteered for a doctor as an athletic trainer because I got certified and did all sorts of different things and, kind of self-funded myself and just kind of grew. I decided to apply for GA positions. Now this is for all you younger crew out there is back then it was pen and paper of sending letters out, 60 letters. Hey, hire me. I'm looking for a GA spot. Now it's email. Email didn't really come out until I was in grad school. It was one of those things like looking for a GA spot. Women in the profession of strength conditioning was pretty slim. Back then, very slim. Even the strength conditioning profession is relatively new compared to most professions. The godfather of strength conditioning, Boyd Epley, and that was, being around. That's kind of really when it started. It started a little bit before that. There's a book out, The Golden Ages. Ron McKeefrey did it, so kind of explains the history of strength conditioning a little bit. But long story short, I applied for 1 million GA positions and no one got back to me. It was one of those things like I went through back then what everyone's going through now. It's a new profession. It's back then they had 1 or 2 positions open. Now, you're trying to apply for jobs and it's all about who you know and who you can connect with, who knows you, and everyone hiring their buddies and things like that. So back then it was so new that it was just very few positions open. Long story short, I got 2 emails back, or 2 letters back, or 2 phone calls back, not even emails because there was no email. Wisconsin Lacrosse and Northern Arizona University. So I took the Northern Arizona opportunity and came out to Northern Arizona for grad school and met Meg Stone out here. So Meg Stone is the first unbelievable strength coach, female strength conditioning coach that ever worked football. So I've always aspired to be like Meg and had the opportunity to meet her when she was down at U of A. And Rich McClure, who hired me at NAU, had a great connection with her. So I kind of, got to know her a little bit and said, you know what, I want to be like her and build a legacy and build something for women across the profession through the years. I stayed at NAU for 1 year. I'm not a school person. I'm not going to lie. I kick myself in the ass. I haven't finished my master's degree. And I know, I started 2 and 3 times, but I got so much stuff going on and then I just didn't make it a priority. And now it's like, okay, I'm 25 years in the profession. What's a master's degree really going to do for me? Unless I want to go into administration, and you can have that bullshit. Like I like coaching athletes, and I don't mean to offend anyone. I call a spade a spade. So that's kind of, and some people can handle my humor and handle me. Some people can't, and screw you if you can't. So sorry. So I went to, I was in NAU for a year. I was at NAU for a year. I decided I wanted to go to take a job. So I went to Nevada Reno. I was at Nevada Reno for 4 years as an assistant. I was the first assistant ever at Nevada Reno. Backstory to that, going back to it's all in who you know and who you make an impression on. I met Mike Jones, the director of strength conditioning. He was the only strength coach at Nevada Reno because I took time out of a vacation. I went skiing up in Tahoe. And I reached out to Coach Jones and said, hey, I want to come in and can I, pick your brain for a day and, hang out with you? And he's like, yeah, fine, come on in. He's like, I don't have a position open. I don't have a GA spot. I don't have anything open, but if you want to come up and see what we do, that's fine. So to me, I spent the time, and a year later, he tracked me down looking for me and offered me a job. So, you never know if you take the time and effort to go out and meet people and talk to people, you never know where it's going to lead. It may be something 2 years down the road. It may be something 10 years down the road that someone remembers you and you left your mark on somebody. You never know. So I will tell young strength coaches, even older strength coaches, reach out to people. We're in this profession. What's the number one thing you're going to hear at one point or another? You're fired. So I'm waiting for the day here. You're going to hear it. Like it's going to happen. So, the connections you make, you have to make those connections. And when I will say, when you hear those words, you're fired, if you haven't reached out to people in 10, 15 years, they're going to stick their middle finger up and say, screw you. Like, you haven't talked to me in 15 years and now you're looking for a job. So those connections you make, you still got to stay in contact with people, down the road. Anyway, long story, keep going. I was at Nevada Reno 4 years.
Your Reader's Digest is huge, by the way.
I know. You guys can tell me to shut up at any point. As you know,
Keep going.
I'm from Massachusetts, so I am a masshole, and I do talk a lot. So I went to
Nevada Reno.
Yeah. So Nevada Reno, then I went to Boston College. I was there for 4 years. That's where I met Ed Cooley, and we'll get into that story later on. Coach Skinner, I work men's basketball. I work football. Back then, it was a day and age. We had 3 strength coaches for 40 sports. So y'all that piss and moan right now that you have too much work to do, that it's so stressful, you got one freaking sport to work, kiss my ass, because I had 22 out of 40 sports myself, then plus happened to help out with football and all that. So part of the backstory of me not finishing a master's degree, you could finish it at Boston College, but I'm working from 5 in the morning. I have to live an hour away, work at Boston College from 6 to 6. No, you can take classes from 6 to 10 at night and then have an hour drive home. So, that's why I really didn't finish. So again, one of those things that kind of, I guess priorities. And I wanted to compete. So competing for me was more of a priority than going to school. So Boston
I got to ask both of you a question. Sorry to cut you off, but I can't get this off of my mind. We moved around a lot the past couple of years, and I finally got to unpack. And sitting on this shelf right here, somewhere over here, is a Muscle and Fitness from 1997. I kept it because I want, for nostalgia purposes. One day I'm going to pull that out and see and read it and try to think what I was thinking way back then. But do you think it's worth any money?
It might be. It actually might be.
The other good thing, flip through that, and for every page of piece of paper, count how many ads there are.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's why I got it. Back then, I was still in high school. I think I would flip to the back where they had these questionable things in glass vials and ask my father if I could get them. He never let me.
Yep. Wonder why.
You added 10 years to your life.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
All right, so you're at BC. You got 22 sports. Are you the lead on basketball?
Yeah, so men's basketball was my main sport. So I ended up traveling with men's basketball. Back then, not a lot of strength coaches travel. It was kind of that beginning. So this was like 99 to 03.
Also, not a lot of females overseeing men's basketball.
No, not hardly. I don't think any.
You were probably the only one in the country.
Probably.
And most of them will justify it as, we don't want to have to get another hotel room.
Yes. Yeah.
Because basketball doesn't bring in enough money.
Yep. Exactly.
God forbid that $150 hotel room breaks the bank.
Breaks the bank. Yeah. Breaks the bank. Back then, it did,
Not at BC.
Yeah. Yeah. BC, champagne taste beer budget. That's BC. That is BC. Hopefully it's changed. I don't know, but that was BC when they were in the Big East. So definite champagne taste beer budget. But good experience there. Men's basketball was awesome. Even football, I worked football. Coach O'Brien was unbelievable. We had some great coaches there. It didn't matter what sport. We had some really good coaches and some really good people. And I would have stayed at Boston College if it wasn't for a certain person that came in as the new director of strength and conditioning. That was a complete douchebag. So we can get into more of that later if you want. We don't have to. It doesn't matter to me. But I can't. Remember, how you treat people is how people remember you for the rest of your life. So first impressions are lasting impressions. And but it also gave me a good learning experience of how I knew I never wanted to treat people down the road if I had the same experience of quote unquote inheriting a staff. I always knew that how I would or wouldn't, and I had more of a have higher standards and moral values and ethics than this guy had anyway. So I don't think I would ever treat people like that, but you never know. So Boston College, left there, came here to Arizona State for Joe Ken. So I was an assistant for House back in 03 to 05. Helped him out with football, worked football, worked softball was one of my main sports. I had softball, I had women's tennis, I had golf. We all helped each other out. So it's kind of a different mentality than what it is today. So you work kind of multiple sports. You had your main sports, but everyone was here. Everyone knew everyone. That was about year 10 in the profession. So year 10 in the profession, my husband kind of said to me, "The hell are you doing?" He's like, "You're year 10 in the profession. You're an assistant. You're year 10 in the profession and you make $45,000. Like it's ridiculous. Like, and you're working 80 hours a week," because for me, I wanted to be involved with football as much as I could, because being a female in the profession, like you have to do all this extra, and not to say men don't, but back then you had to do extra, you had to be seen. So I would have swim in the morning at 5:30 in the morning lift. We'd practice, football would practice at 6 o'clock at night. I'd be here till 9:30 at night. And my husband's like, "Enough's enough. Like, we're never going to have a life. Like, are you happy doing this? All you're doing is working, and that's it." So, kind of a come to Jesus time and, conversation. I ended up, trying to figure out, I wanted to be a director. So I'm like, "Hey, I want to be a director. I want to move on. I want to go, but in the college sector, it was slim and none. Like no one, because at that point, everyone was director of football, oversaw everything. So there was no director of Olympic sports, even though I can coach circles around 99% of the clowns that are out there now that are directors of football making big money. Like I'm a good freaking coach and I'm not afraid to say it. But some of these guys, because I'm not running around in schmedium shirts and, chest bumping and head butting people, it's all for show now. It drives me freaking nuts. But
this is awesome.
I told you. I told you.
I am who I am, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. Again, 25 years into this, like I call a spade a spade. I'm not gonna sugarcoat stuff, and I always tell the truth. Whether the truth, you want to hear the truth or not hear the truth, it's the truth. Like
you can't handle the truth.
The truth, exactly. Some people can't handle the truth. They want to hide. They want to. Oh no, we're doing the right thing, but we're really not. Anyway, off track. So I decided that I was going to become the director. I had an opportunity to go to Poliquin Performance Center East back in Massachusetts. So rest in peace, Charles Poliquin, smartest man alive at that point. He was unbelievable in terms of as a practitioner, and smart in so many ways, dumb in so many business ways, but smart from a strength conditioning mindset. Ended up going back running Poliquin Performance Center, ended up turning into Parisi Speed School. And that was in 2005, 2008. Long story short, I ended up opening my own business back in Massachusetts, had a successful business for 6 years, athletic-based training. It's still up and running in Massachusetts. Chris LeBlanc was my director. He took it over from us. It's still up and running. One of the facilities is still up and running. And then I got involved with the high school. Because I got too much, people don't understand. People think that, hey, I can do it better than you. I'm going to go open my own place. I can do it better. And they don't really understand the ins and the outs, the business side of things. And then when they're in it, they're like, oh shit, like, I guess they did know what they were doing and talking about, or, why they did work 85 hours a week. My husband thought that going to opening our own facility, I'd work less than in college. Nope. no. And I'm grateful for him because he was able to, he took over the business side of stuff for me. I hated the business side. I will go out, I will talk to people, I will do seminars, I will coach, I will do all that stuff. But when it came to the day-to-day operations, I wanted nothing to do with it. And he did all that stuff. So, you know, we grew, became huge. I started out with 1,500 square feet, went to 3,000 square feet within 6 months. Then within a year, went to 10,000 square feet, then opened up another facility. We were, you know, $750,000 within 5 years business. Like it was crazy how much it grew. And it really wasn't known as athletic-based training. It was known as Liane's Place, because that's how much it, like, I put in and invested. And that was one of the hard things about it. When you own your own business, you got to make it about everyone, which I tried to do, but everyone always gravitated towards me and everything I did. And then towards the end, it was like, I did too much of the business side of things and growing, and hey, where's your next group coming from? So I told my husband, hey, I'm applying for this job at Franklin High School. It pays me $1,500 a sports season. And he's looking at me like I have 12 heads. And he's like, what do you do? 1,500, like, that's like $6,500 a year. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I just want to coach. He's like, well, you can coach at your own facility. I'm like, no, I can't, because I always get pulled into something else. So I volunteered, not really, well, it was volunteering at $1,500, but, you know, it grew into a program that, you know, I had 600 kids in the summer program. Ended up, I had my after school program sold out faster than a Taylor Swift program, their concert. Like it was unbelievable. And it was all about the connections you make with these kids. And I was brought in there for football. And the first year it was mostly about football and some volleyball kids. But by year 2, I had every single sport in that weight room training. And that's what I wanted. Like, it wasn't just about football being football. Football is important. Football on the collegiate side, football makes money. Football on the high school side of it is important, but so aren't the rest of the sports. It's about lifelong, you know, opportunities and growth. And there's so much to it. There's so much more to it, making connections with kids. So yeah, I spent all the way to 2016 at Franklin High School. Then I got suckered back into going to college setting. No, I always felt like there was something missing for me. So I decided to take the plunge, went to App State. I was at App State for about a year and a half. I loved App State. It was a great school. It was
a cup of coffee.
Yeah. You know, but like the mid-major school to me reminded me a lot like the high school. And you can make changes in kids' lives. Not that you can't hear at the Power 5 school, but there's so much more stuff that goes involved in it. And you can still make an impact on your athletes and make changes in kids' lives. But for me at the time, like, all right, I had been at the Power 5, I had been at the big time of, you know, these schools and stuff, but it was like, hey, this is where I could go and see myself retiring and, like, you know, finishing out my career here. My husband loved it. He could fish every day around the bull riding, around his travel schedule with PBR and all that. So
distract him so you could do your thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Bingo.
Over here.
Bingo. And then I ended up leaving and coming back to Arizona State. You know, I was there for a year and a half, and just things kind of happened, and I came here, and I've been here since 2018, February 2018. I got here. So
one of the things that you did not talk about was your own athletic prowess. So
I'm a up now. No.
No, you're not. So give us some of your numbers. Give us your totals, give us your highs, give us your PRs. And then I also believe you did World's Strongest Woman as well when they first tried to do that.
Yep. Okay, so competing has always been in my blood. Like I said earlier, I played field hockey and softball, and I felt like I wanted to continue to do something. And I love the weight room. So I kind of got involved. It was about 1994 when I had finished grad school, and I was in North Carolina, and I was working at a gym, and they're like, oh, do a bench meet. I'm like, all right, sure, why not? This will be fun. So I did a little bench meet. I think I benched 145 pounds, you know, and it was kind of fun. And then I went to grad school, and Trevor, who was the other grad assistant, and then we had a big weightlifting team at NAU. So NAU was big snatch, clean and jerk, big weightlifting team. Rich McClure had it. Dr. Borden, Richard Borden was a professor up here. So we did a lot with weightlifting, and I'm like, all right, well, I haven't really weightlifted. Weightlifting was new to me because I had just been in the gym and I'd never been exposed to snatch, clean and jerk. So Trevor, our other GA, gave me the nickname Slow Twitch because I wasn't so good at weightlifting and I wanted to muscle things up. So Slow Twitch became my thing. So I started powerlifting. So, and hey, you vertically challenged, horizontally gifted. I use my assets wisely. So I turned to powerlifting. And yeah, so I think my first meet Trevor ever took me to back in 1995. I think I squatted 330. I benched 175, and I think I deadlifted 395. And that was my first meet, which was decent, not bad. So 20 years later down the road, my best squat is 545, 247.5 kilos. My best bench is 424, 192.5 kilos. And my best deadlift is 228 kilos, which is 502. So
total of what? 1,700?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is in pounds. It's 663 kilos. 663, or sorry, 663.5 kilos. So whatever that is in pounds.
Oh God, now I gotta do math. I was told there'd be no test today. So 663 point what?
663.5 times 2.2.
Times 2.2. 1460.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was mine. That was my best. I retired.
Yeah, but people don't understand. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for a girl. I mean, I'm in the 80s.
I didn't say I did not put a gender on this.
It's a lot of weight for a dude.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, so our relationship about 20 years ago, give or take.
Yep.
Give or take. Ed Cooley, who was the assistant at Boston College while you were there, becomes the head men's basketball coach at Fairfield, where I'm the strength coach. And for those young ones, I'm going to give the same thing that Liane told you. I was one guy. I had 20 teams. I had 400 athletes. When I went to my AD twice, can I get an assistant GA intern? You're still going to be there, right, Mark? Yep. All right. Then why do we need an assistant? Never asked that question again. So I was just done. Coach Cooley comes to me and goes, hey, we want to try some new stuff in the weight room. I got my strength coach that I had at BC. They're going to come down. Did not say she, said they are going to come down. I was like, all right, whatever. No. Okay, cool. I don't think we met in his office. I think we actually met in the weight room.
Yep, weight room.
But, yeah, so I walk in. You're there with your husband. Team comes in. We're going to go over some Olympic lifts and take the guys through it. No worries. Very receptive to it. Both of us, you coming into somebody else's weight room and me having somebody else come into my weight room to deal with my premier team, the men's basketball team. And the way you handled that relationship is why we're talking today. You didn't come in there, you didn't big time it. You're like, I'm here because that guy who's my friend asked me to come down and help him. I was like, all right, no worries. I mean, Coach Cooley, even though he doesn't return my phone calls, still a great guy. He's very bad about returning calls.
He is bad about that.
Yeah. So good luck. Good luck, Villanova. Beat Providence. Just kidding, Ed. But that going forward, I mean, how do you think for these young coaches, how do you think, what would be the advice if they get into a situation where a coach goes, hey, I'm going to bring in somebody from my past to come and help you do your job? I mean, I think both of us, I don't think either one of us could have handled that better.
Agree.
But I think nowadays, I took it as learning. Like, I'm going to learn from you. I'm going to get better at doing my job. and I didn't look at it any other way. I didn't think you were coming in to try and take my job because I knew that wasn't the case. You're just coming in to help a buddy help his team. So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, and for me, that's how I viewed it as, you have a strength coach there that's, qualified to be a strength coach. And a lot of these coaches, they want to bring people in, and I deal with it here with outside consultants too. A coach will meet someone on an airplane. I got the latest, greatest thing for you that, that's going to help your program win and take it to the next level. And they're salespeople, blah, 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 garbage, a lot of it's garbage, but you also have to bite your tongue. So in terms of what you say or what you really want to say, you can say under your breath, you just can't say it to your coach. But, I think sometimes you just got to hear your coach out. Your coach is the one who gets hired and fired. Yeah, they make the big bucks. Your coach is the one who gets hired and fired. I think sometimes you take it as a learning opportunity of what to do and what not to do. And everyone's going to have, whether it's an assistant, it could have been one of Coach Cooley's assistants that could have come in and said, hey, I had this strength coach at this place, and, I really loved what they do, and maybe we can incorporate some of the stuff. And, you gotta pick and choose your battles. If you would have been completely like, all right, what are we doing? And completely like shut off to it, I think you would have shut yourself off to Coach Cooley in the way he is, and you would have been finding yourself another job. And I think young coaches need to understand that too. Like sometimes coaches just have it in their head. Like I've been given programs before, and we had a coach at a school that said, hey, here's Alabama's track program. I want my kids to do this. We don't have Alabama kids here, coach. Sorry. Like, okay, how about you spend a day in the weight room with us to see what type of athlete you have? At the high school level, our new head football coach, he came in and he gave me LSU's strength conditioning program. And I'm like, Ian, I love what Tommy Moffitt does. I said, but we don't have LSU kids here. Like, and can you tell, like, our weight room is 1,500 square feet. What am I going to do with that? And I'm one person with 200 kids. So sometimes you got to listen and hear the coach out, and you develop the relationship with the coach, and
it almost seems like being open to it also allows you to engage in some education with your coaches.
Yes, exactly. Engage with education with your coaches. Show your coaches, hey, this thing would work. This will work. This won't work. This is how we can incorporate some of this stuff. This is how we can't, or why we can't, or sometimes you don't want to ever say can't to your coach, but this is, these are the reasons why, it's just like a coach coming in here and telling a kid to, hey, put more weight in the bar. And then they're doing a jumping jack clean and their feet are all spread out. And it's like, coach, what do you want? I get it. You want the kid to challenge himself, but what's the risk versus the reward here? You want the kid to get hurt, to run or to sprint or to play basketball, whatever the case may be. I just think you have to listen. This day and age, and even back then, it wasn't even this day and age, you have to listen to what coaches, because coaches ultimately sign your paycheck. Coaches can get rid of you in 2 seconds. And I don't think some coaches, I don't think Coach Cooley did it to be disrespectful to you at all. I think he just saw it as, hey, what Liane did there and just a little backdrop of BC too. I took over for a guy that didn't have connection with his players at all. Don just didn't, he wasn't, from what I understand, I was never there. He didn't have that connection with the guys, didn't explain the hows and the whys. And when I got there, I asked the guys what they wanted, what they needed, and what they felt was going to help them in the weight room. What do you want out of your basketball career? And that connection that I created with them, hey, I want to jump. They all want to dunk. They're all like, hey, I want to dunk. I want to, So, okay, guys, here's what we need to do. We got to start doing some legs, because all they did was bench press and arms when I got there. So, which is fine, but you're in a Big East school and you have a coach and Coach Skinner, that wants to, they want big guys. They want guys that can play and, are gonna be tough and physical in the post. That's what they wanted. So that's the type of program I created. But if I just would have said, hey guys, yeah, get the fuck in the squat rack, let's go. It would have been like, screw you, I ain't doing that. So I had to create the relationship of what do you need as an athlete? And I think that's what Coach Cooley saw, is the relationship I connected and made with those kids to get them to where they wanted to be. You know, and did it help that they went from 6-21 their first year, and then when I had them for a full year, they ended up winning the Big East tournament? Yeah, that helped. Was it me? Probably not. You know, it was great coaching by the coaches, you know, and a lot of strength coaches will come in and say, oh yeah, that was all me, and, you know, pound their chest like I had that turnaround. Wasn't me. You know, it's like Coach House always says, a coach is who recruits kids. So if a coach recruits a kid that's a 3-star kid, yeah, I can make you a stronger 3-star kid. I can make you a faster 3-star kid, but it's up to that coach to make that 3-star kid, a more skilled athlete. So it comes down to the coach. So I can do only so much with a kid. The saying, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. That's the saying. I mean, it's the same thing with athletes. It's the same thing, you know. It's just like in here, your best athletes aren't always your best players, and your best players or your best athletes aren't always your best lifters, and your best lifters aren't always your best players. So you have to give and take. So circle back a little bit with Coach Cooley. I think that he saw the connections I made in the like and the love of the weight room, in the change in the confidence of the guys, how their bodies changed, how they did get stronger, how they did become more physical, how they did become more confident. I think that's what Coach Cooley saw, not necessarily the X's and O's of the weight room. I think it was just like, hey, to get guys to buy in, to feel like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and this is gonna give me the confidence I need to crush kids on the floor. So that's,
well, it's funny. I think after he brought you in, then he took the Providence job.
yeah. He did. Maybe a year later. I think it was a year later.
No, I think it was like the next month or two. Yeah, because you came in the off season.
Yeah.
We were just starting our off season, and we got going, and we started to implement the stuff that you showed the guys. And you know, I believe I had a good connection with the guys, so I don't want that to be implied the wrong way. You know, but at the same time, it was, you know, because the gentleman that took over for Ed, he did the same thing, brought in somebody from somewhere else to do something completely different than what Ed wanted. So it was like all the kids are looking at me going, well, are we doing this or are we doing this? And I'm like, well, we're going to do what's going to get you better. And then at least with Coach Cooley, he would come in and see what the guys were doing. So he knew what was going on in the weight room. And I think any sport coach that wants to change what's going on in the weight room should actually spend, like you said, spend a day or a week, or here's a crazy idea, maybe a whole month in the weight room.
Yep.
Because to come in on a day where the kids aren't moving big weight or whatever, you're not going to get a good lay of the land of what's going on in the weight room because they're doing something else that day.
Yeah.
Probably predicated on where their competition lands.
Yep.
Like if you're a sport coach, like I'm going to go out on a limb, and you haven't gone into the hockey coach and told him what line to run, have you?
Nope.
No, never.
And
never will.
Never would dream of it.
Okay, so and I think as a profession, I think this is where we kind of slide ourselves. Yes, we can have those intelligent conversations with the coaches, but at the end of the day, it's our job.
Yep.
Yes, they can get us fired. And like you said at the beginning, you will get fired in this profession at some point. But it's up to you to decide what battles to pick.
Yep.
You know, I think if you go through the big 5 schools and you go through all the weight rooms, there's really not much difference going on in any weight room.
Nope.
Like, I think everybody's pushing. I'm pretty sure everybody's pulling. I'm sure everybody's doing a squat or a hinge or a lunge. They're doing some lower body work.
Yep.
Whatever it may be, depending on the day. But like the difference between Alabama and everybody else right now, they got better players.
Yep.
I feel like we may have touched on this before, but is there anything that can measure a strength coach's success? You know, kids are getting stronger. Kids are getting less hurt. here, coach, you see this? Here's my report card. Like, is there anything out there that does something like that?
That's the age old.
I'll let you take that one.
I mean, that's the age old question. Like, how do you define success for a strength conditioning coach? And how do you define, whether they're doing a good job or a bad job? Is it the fact that they're getting stronger? Back in the football days, it was how many, 600-pound squats we had, how many 400+ pound bench presses you had, and Coach Ken, House was like, I don't give a shit, how many that, like, he's like, I want guys to be able to move to get better, this is just a bonus that we have this many, 600-pound squatters, 400-pound bench pressers or whatever. That's a bonus part of it. Injury, reduction of injury, movement. It is really hard. Like there is no way to, I don't know. It's the age old question. It truly is the age old question.
Well, and when I was at Fairfield, I had to do a yearly self-review. Yep. And it was always interesting. It's like, do I pound my chest because we won a lot of championships this year? Do I pound my chest because a lot of kids didn't get hurt this year? Do I pound my chest because the kids like me? Like, you can't serve all three masters. They don't, you can serve a couple, but you can't serve them all. Yeah. And it's like, at the end of the day, my job is really not to be liked. I want to be respected.
Yep.
Because I'm making 18 to 24-year-olds do something that they might not want to do on a normal basis. And I'm going to get them very uncomfortable for a long period of time to the point that they're comfortable being uncomfortable. But that was always the thing. It's like, do a self-review. I mean, who on a self-review doesn't give themselves 5 out of 5? I mean, yep. I'm not going to give you any ammo. I'm never going to,
right.
I'm never going to go.
Exactly.
I'm never going to go 3 out of 5.
Exactly.
Like, even if I think I was a 3, I'm still going to be a 5. Here you go. If you want to have a discussion about my self-review, we can. But after that, tell me how you're reviewing me, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, head sport coaches, they're hired and fired based off wins and losses. And it's cut and dry, for the most part. I mean, depends on what level you're at, I should say. Depends on what level. But if you're at a Power 5 school, if you don't win, you're going to get fired. I mean, if you don't have some programs or some sports, hey, just be middle of the road, middle of the pack, middle of the, and don't have any issues, be good students, so it depends on the type of sport, I guess. Are you a tier 1 sport like a baseball or a basketball or a football, or a hockey where winning is the norm and that's the expectation? So what are the standards and what are the expectations you want for your team, your staff, that program? Any support staff, how do you evaluate an athletic trainer? An athletic trainer who has to answer to a doc? I mean, they're the first line of injury, but then if coaches do something stupid and guys get injured or girls get injured because the coaches don't want to listen to you in terms of, hey, we're doing too much in volume, whose fault is that? Is that the coach, or is that the athletic trainer, or is that the strength coach? So it is really hard to pinpoint how to evaluate support staff. Sports nutrition. Well, you don't give me enough money in our sports nutrition budget to take care of. Well, whose fault is that? Is that administration's problem? Because our sports nutrition staff is 3 people for 26 sports. Like, and coaches get pissed off that we don't have, they're not getting enough from our sports nutrition people. Well, if you're 3 people with 26 sports, how much can you really do? So don't blame me. Don't blame, I'm the messenger of the sports nutritionist, basically, or as a sports nutritionist and a sports RD, but you're not giving me the means or the way to be, the ability to get everything done that needs to get done. You're not giving me the funds. You're not giving me the resources, whether it's money or people.
I always said it, just set me up for success.
Yep.
If you put me in a position to be successful, I'll be successful.
Yep.
And I'm not worried about that, because you're not going to outwork me. You're not going to be better than me. I mean, you're just not going to be. I'm going to outwork you, and I'm even going to outwork you probably when shit gets really bad, because it's going to be too tough for you. You're going to leave. Right. Not you personally, Liane. Whoever's trying to get my job.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, you're just not, I'm never going to be outworked.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the hard thing, the mentality that I think we all have from, our era is, hey, even when I was here, it's like, okay, who can beat House in the morning? He gets here at 4:30. I'm gonna be here at 4, and it's like some of that's kind of changed now. Like I tell my staff, if you don't need to be here, don't be here.
yep.
Like I'm not gonna, you don't get paid enough. Our profession sucks with salaries, and I had a guy apply for the baseball strength conditioning job we had open. And I talked to him, and he was a PT. He had been at the pro level and stuff. And I said, hey, I said, you're in line for the position. I said, based off your resume, you have a very good resume. And I said, well, and he's like, well, tell me a little bit more about it. So I started telling him about it, whatever. And I said, well, the salary is probably going to be between, 50 and 60. And he's like, 50 and 60? What happened to all those $800,000 jobs out there? Almost as those 6-figure jobs, I'm like, you mean the football jobs that are, I said, those are few and far between. I'm like, those are tied to football. I'm like, baseball doesn't make that kind of money, and some people just think that, you're raking in the big bucks. It's not even the case,
No.
It's not, the head coaches are making the money. They're making 6 figures, some are making 7 figures, but your support staff isn't, unless you're at a big time school like a Georgia or an Alabama or, you're not making 6 figures, and there's now like men's basketball is getting better, but if you look at men's basketball salaries, I think the best salary right now out there is 320,000. So,
which for a strength coach overseeing 15 guys,
15 guys is pretty damn good.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, pretty damn good. But you also sell your soul to the devil. You're going to take that job and you're going to make that money. Then you're going to be hired and fired coach. Okay. But if you're working a sport like, gymnastics and field hockey and soccer, and you make $40,000 a year, yeah, you shouldn't be hired and fired with the coach because you're getting paid shit. Like, and your job isn't tied to the head coach. Your job is tied to the head coach. You should make what an offensive coordinator is making. You should make that type of money. But
the quarterback at Alabama is the second highest paid guy on the football team.
Yep.
It's like Nick Saban, the 2 coordinators, and then the quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
Quarterback's making $800,000 this year.
Well,
I'm all for the NIL.
Yeah, I mean, but then there's also a problem too when you look at all these head coaches making all this money and making these salaries. They make more than the athletic directors make. So they make more than the AD. They make more than any sport administrator. So who actually runs the show? Who runs the show? It's the head coach that runs the show. It's not the AD. It's not the sport administrator that runs the show. It's whatever the head coach wants. And I think that's kind of the downfall of athletics to some degree in college athletics, is because you have no control now. There's no institutional control across the country because of it, because all these coaches are making shit ton of money. And okay, coach, whatever you want. Okay, yeah, you can treat people, you treat your athletic trainer like crap. You can treat your, it doesn't matter, like you can treat your strength coach like crap, whatever. We'll just get a new one, they're replaceable, and whatever you want. I mean, that's a sad thing to see right now. It's a sad state of affairs of what our profession has become a little bit.
You're telling me the NCAA doesn't oversee that?
I mean, here's the thing: the NCAA rules basically in the catastrophic injury checklist is you're not supposed to report to a head coach. You really do. I mean, unfortunately, to say it at the big time level, Power 5 level, you do report to a head coach, because if you don't do what a head coach wants, you're gone.
You're fired.
You're fired. Yeah. You're fired.
I hate to cut this off, and there will be a part 2 to this, but I have to go pick up my son. So Liane, it was a pleasure to talk with you today. Let us know if somebody wants to talk to you or talk with you more in depth. What's the best way to reach you? Instagram, Facebook, ASU directory?
You can shoot me an email, lblyn@asu.edu, or shoot me a DM, Facebook or Instagram. I'm always happy to talk. I may not get right back to you, but I'm usually pretty good about getting back to everyone that reaches out. So, yeah.
You always get back to me. So I don't care about anybody else.
Yeah, yep.
We're definitely gonna have to do a part 2 because I got a lot of questions. You're caught me real short, Mark.
I'm sorry.
That's
Hey,
okay.
I got
this time.
parental duties today. Liane, it was a pleasure. I will stalk you again to get part 2 because I know Chris has got a lot of questions. And sorry to throw the curveball at you, Chris, that I had to roll. I thought we would have gone a little quicker today, but then I should have thought a little harder.
I talk too much. It's my fault. It's my
The
fault.
hell with that. You got a lot of good shit out there. So, as I've always said, this profession has a lot of good people in it. But there are a few that stand out, and you're definitely one of them. So keep getting after it, keep improving our profession, and keep improving those athletes' lives out at Arizona State. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Liane. Good luck this upcoming year. And hopefully the hockey team makes the Frozen Four this year.
I'm hoping. I love working with that team. Coach Powers is awesome. The boys are awesome. Like, it's a top-notch program. Coach Powers reminds me a lot of Coach Skinner. And that's, I think that's why we connect a lot, and Coach Cooley. So a lot of the same mentality and just good people all around. So I'm excited for the boys this year.
Excellent.
Coach, thanks for coming on. Yeah, part 2 is definitely got to happen. I got a lot of questions. And we're going right into the athletes next time. I mean, I enjoy all the strength and conditioning industry stuff. I love it, but we're going right into the athletes next time.
All right.
So
Sounds
Liane,
good.
text me and let me know what works for you next week.
All right.
Or later this week, hell.
All right.
We'll figure it out.
Next week.
All right, let me know what works, Liane.
All right, sounds good.
Everyone listen in. Check out other podcasts. You're going to have to wait until part 2 comes around, but there's plenty of other content to listen to on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube. That's it from me. My name is Chris Schrade.
And I am Mark Spellman, and we are the Athlete Hackers. All my best. God bless and peace.
Peace.
Ah!
Yes.